Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gooey's Dungeon Dive, the podcast where I, Gooey, rank all of the dungeons in the Legend of Zelda series. And welcome to episode 1 of season 3 in our series, where we will be adding in the dungeons from A Link to the Past. Just a classic, iconic Zelda game. Foundational. And we're starting it off big, of course, with Hyrule Castle. Just an amazing, to me, an awesome intro to a Zelda game. In fact, I'm going to have a side ranking here of all the intros to every Zelda game. Just gonna throw it up here real quick. Not gonna make a big deal about it, but here it is. That's what I think. This is so far the best one. To me, it sets the gold standard for how a Zelda game should be and how the intro should be. So yeah, this is an awesome intro. It is inextricably tied to this first dungeon. Now we get a little bit of, backstory in the manual that's really awesome. A cutscene on the title screen that are both really sweet. But what's awesome about this is you can just jump right into the game and it still works, and it's just really, the pacing is just incredible. It gets you fired up every time I play it. So yeah, the gameplay starts hot. Like I said, you're sleeping, it's pouring outside, you hear the rain coming down, there's this amazing music playing, and you're in your bed and you're all of a sudden telepathically communicated to from the Princess Zelda, and and then you see your uncle and he's like, wait here, there's something going on at the castle, and he storms off and he's like, don't follow me, or whatever he says. And it's just it's just a good mood builder, and you can go out and explore part of this world, and it's raining, and there's soldiers that are like, what are you doing here, kid? Go back. You gotta go back home. Like, you don't want to be here right now, basically. Like, something's going on. And, some of these soldiers are, trying to warn Link. But you can eventually find your way over to a secret little bush at the side of the castle and find your way in to, like, the basement level, basically, of it. And it's awesome. You find your uncle there, like passed out or something, about to pass away. And, he says, like, I can't go on. Take the sword. He gives you the sword. And, oh boy, it's just so good. It's so simple but effective that I love it. You're just immediately there, like, there are some things that, like, where this doesn't have like a full dungeon, like the full things you expect from a Zelda dungeon, but it's got all the elements there, I think, in a way to like get you right into the story and also kind of show you how the game works. And I love like the meeting the guards. There's another guard you meet who he even says something, and like, oh my, like all my other buds are acting kind of funny, like. And I think does he even say, like, I'm starting to feel funny, or maybe he's just like, oh, this is probably going to happen to me. I don't know. There's something so dark about that too that I really like. But, you get your sword from your uncle, and then it's just like, bang. The pacing is off the charts after this. You're going through this castle. It's big and it's open and it's got this amazing theme. The Hyrule Castle theme is so good. Now we're into a game with a little bit more diverse music, though still not totally, but here it definitely is. And it's just you can go a lot of places, though it's still like linear in that there's really only one place you need to go, but they do just kind of give you this like space to explore with enemies to fight, and it's so awesome. It's just teeming with enemies, and you can walk to different floors, which, you couldn't really do in at least The Legend of Zelda. So it's just kind of like showing you a structure, and then you eventually, move on to this area that's a bit more, it's kind of like leading to the jail cell or whatever you call it. And that is a little bit more structured. At least it's like a more narrow pathway you have to take. It's more linear. But I like that they start you off with this kind of like look at this place, you know. It's just kind of like a set piece or something almost. Once you get to that area that's going down below into the bowels of the dungeon as you go to find Zelda, now you kind of get to learn how like keys work. Like you get a key and you spend it, and then a little bit later on you can't go to a locked door, but you go off to a room to the side, get a key, and then, you know, immediately go back. So it's a little bit of kind of showing you like you'll have to diverge from your path. You know, you get stuff like the map, you know, so it's like, you know, just giving you all these elements, even though you probably don't really need a map here or anything like that. It's like a pre-dungeon almost. It's like a primer for a dungeon, you know? Especially because when the way you learn about the big key is actually through the quote-unquote boss. It's not really, to me, I wouldn't really consider this a full boss, but before getting the big key, you have to fight a ball and chain trooper, which, you know, compared to all the other soldiers, is still like quite a big and intimidating enemy, and you fight it right in the jail cell. It's like guarding Princess Zelda's jail cell, which is kind of an awesome scene in itself. And yeah, you know, if for a first time player, it can be pretty tough. I personally just pick up some pots and throw them at him, and that takes care of it, which is another thing you know you can kind of mess around with in this dungeon. I think they give you ample time to experiment with throwing pots and actually discovering that they're more powerful than your sword for some reason. But anyway, when you beat this guy, who looks awesome, by the way, but you beat this guy and you get the big key, you use it on this big lock to save Zelda, and you think, okay, great. But now we've got this whole other second sequence where Zelda says, we gotta get out, we gotta head to the throne room to make our escape. And you go to the throne room, and there's a big ornamental whatever shelf behind the throne that you both have to push out of the way, and it leads to another secret passage that goes through the sewers, which is filled with all kinds of classic enemies that makes perfect sense for a sewer. You've got your keys, your rats, and your ropes, or, you know, snakes. And yeah, it's great. Like, it's a bit more, now it's a little bit different. It's like a total change in style a little bit from this big old castle. Now you're in this dark, kind of narrow sewer, and it's dark, so you're gonna have to be using the lantern. You know, it's kind of fine. It's kind of a basic, I mean, it's gonna come into play throughout this game, so it's like a pretty solid just item to like get out of the way right away in the game. Same thing with, you get the boomerang here, and I think the boomerang is awesome. It's in this game, it's like an amazing secondary weapon for stunning enemies and killing things and what have you. I'm also glad that they kind of give you that now, and you're just, you know, you're already equipped now with like, you know, 3 kind of key items for the game, and one, the boomerang particularly, I love. So, you know, you're going through this dark sewer, lighting, you can light some torches to like help you lead the way, but they will go out eventually, so it's kind of showing you that, which is pretty cool. It also shows you, it's kind of a minor thing, but it shows you an area you have to return to later in the, like, as you've progressed through the game with more items to access. There's like a cracked wall there that you have to come back to later, but it's really just for like a little secret, some rupees, you know, nothing too crazy, but I still think it's pretty neat. So after, you know, you go through this other whole gauntlet of sewers and rats and ropes and keys and what have you, finally there's a bit of a respite. You get to the sanctuary, so some really amazing, calm but affecting music is playing, and you meet the sage, and they kind of give you a little bit more about what's going on, saying, you know, whatever, Ganon must be trying to come back or whatever, and saying, you know, you gotta get the Master Sword. And so they kind of establish what feels like the you know, the goal of the game now is to acquire the Master Sword, and they send you on your way off to, you got to go off to meet the village elder or something in Kakariko, you know. But it's really effective to me. This is like a really effective way of getting someone in on the gameplay while providing a little bit of that dungeon action. You know, still, it's not going all out, but it works. It's so effective to me. And if we bring up the ranking, I don't know if you can tell, but I am a huge fan of this section of the game. When we did our top 20 dungeons at Zelda Dungeon, I submitted this as on my list somewhere. I think it's, yeah, I just think it's an immediate tone setter in it. We're just really seeing A Link to the Past kind of like step everything up from the NES in an amazing way. And so for me, this is easily number one, like easily. I love this. And it's not even a, like, there will probably be other dungeons that dip below the other ones here, so don't get too excited. But like it, and this, you know, it's lacking some of the complexity of later dungeons that I love, but I think it just so expertly gets the point of the game across in such a little amount of time, and it just really, it works on every factor to me, like the setting, the music, the gameplay is really fun, and then I always appreciate, you know, a good intro dungeon. You know, that's kind of my bias. So yeah, I'm having this at number one, no question. So yeah, it breaks up into my top 5, which right now we'll just go over the top 5. At number 5 we have level 5, the lizard from Legend of Zelda. At 4 we have level 4, the snake. Number 3 we have the lone top 5 Adventure of Link dungeon in the Great Palace. Number 2 we have level 9, Death Mountain from Legend of Zelda, and then we have here Hyrule Castle from A Link to the Past, just coming in hot with the number 1 spot. So things could be different though with the next dungeon, we'll see. Next we're moving on to the Eastern Palace from A Link to the Past, so we'll see how that goes. The only other thing I wanted to say here at the end of the video, for all you guys who listen all the way to the end, I really appreciate that, and you know, for following along with me, I appreciate that. The Mondays thing has been going good, it seems, and yeah, your support is great. Thanks for watching these, even though I said that there are plenty of things I could do to this that would make it more interesting, but don't. Thank you for appreciating my simple, boring presentation that I'm going here, my gameplay list presentation. I really appreciate that. So someone suggested I, should do a little thing to get the word out there. And so I want to do a small thing, a small little incentive. As I'm recording this, things might change, but right now I have 157 subscribers, so I'm less than 50 away from 200. If you guys could go ahead and do me a favor, get the word out there, tell other people. If you can get me to 200 subscribers, I'm gonna do one little bonus video. I don't know what I'll do. I might do, here's a couple ideas and let me know what you think. But I was thinking about maybe one, just doing like a Q&A video where you just ask me anything about Zelda stuff, hopefully. Or number 2, I was thinking I could do something like rank all of the bosses in the original Legend of Zelda, since I just played and fought all of them. That could be a possibly fun thing to do. I don't know. But anyway, thanks guys again for listening. Appreciate all the input, all the support. And yeah, I'll see you at the Eastern Palace later.